I have another question. The most popular name in the United Kingdom, Great Britain, this was in the news this week, for babies this year was Muhammad. Am I a racist to feel I'm alarmed by that? Because I am. And it's not because of the race, it's because of the religion. I don't have to apologize, do I, for not wanting the Western world to be taken over by Islam in 300 years?
If you're with NPR, you'd be fired.
Right. Yeah.
I think England has far bigger problems with Islam than they do with the names of their children. I think Sharia law being institutionalized in England is probably a bigger problem.
Sharia law is being institutionalized?
It's a parallel legal system in England. That's a bigger problem than kids named Mohammed.
Then I'm right. I should be alarmed, and I don't apologize for it. Okay.
Hardline Muslims trying to enforce Sharia law in London, from abstention to amputation. RT's Laura Emmett's been hearing how they want to instill their tough code on the capital.
So we are here to tell you that Islam and the Sharia is unstoppable in Europe.
Stoning for adultery, cutting off hands for stealing, death for renouncing Islam. This group of men is trying to enforce Sharia law in the UK. They've started a campaign to make certain areas of London and other cities Islamic law-controlled zones, starting with Walthamstow, East London.
Muslims will be commanding good and forbidding evil, presenting Islam as an alternative to the Muslim and the non-Muslim community. Ultimately, we believe that Muslims can live together, trade according to the Sharia, resolve their problems according to the Sharia, and even police themselves to a large extent. Hopefully one day to have Islamic Emirates which will have authority locally, security locally, and even provide welfare locally.
Chowdhury and his friends are fly-posting parts of London with large Muslim populations. They want to ban drinking, gambling and playing music. And they say they've got bands of young men ready to patrol and enforce Sharia law by any means.
Now, that enforcement will not initially be on the level of inviting and forbidding verbally. But if someone has the capability to forbid what in essentially is something evil, like pornography or prostitution, he should do so.
And by that you mean physically?
Of course, I believe that there are prostitutes that are near the mosque. They should be run out of the area.
These Muslims say British society is broken, riddled with drugs, crime and prostitution. Because of that, they firmly believe members of the communities they're targeting will welcome Sharia law. But the word on the street about the campaign tells a different story.
It comes down to, if you don't like the laws of the place you live, find somewhere where you do appreciate the laws, and all of these things are completely legal in this country.
This is not India or Pakistan, this is England. We've got our own laws. So people haven't got a right to come in here and bring their laws in here.
Well, I think that have caused nothing but trouble.
Councillor Martin Easom agrees, saying this could destroy community cohesion.
We've got squads going around the borough taking down the posters as soon as they put up, because we do not want these posters around our borough. They do not represent the views of our borough, and they have no place in Waltham Forest.
Citizen equality campaigners say the Sharia supporters shouldn't be considered a religious movement, but a far-right political organisation with a poster campaign designed to divide and conquer communities.
The danger lies in dividing people, dividing communities, creating mistrust, and particularly from non-Muslims towards moderate Muslims. I think this is part of their aim, is to create mistrust, so they can then turn to moderate Muslims and say, look, everyone hates you, we're your friend, turn to us. And it's a very, very dangerous thing, and it's a political tactic to increase their own power.
Undeterred by opposition, Chowdhury and his group plan what they see as the beginning of an Islamic emirate, not just in the UK, but all over Europe. Police have mobilised to take these posters down as fast as they appear, but Chowdhury and his group say they formed bands of vigilante enforcers to make sure Sharia is adhered to, verbally or physically. And in other parts of London, women have already been harassed for not covering their heads. If these Muslims ever get their way, I won't be able to dress like this on the streets of Walthamstow or many other parts of London, Brussels, Rome and Paris.
Women working on the front line of domestic violence issues, honour-related violence, people who run shelters, who would attest to the fact that many people that they see do not go to these courts voluntarily, and that they're forced by either the men in their family or in their community. And this is a very, very serious issue and needs to be addressed. That's a real fear in Britain, where so-called honour killings are becoming more common.
Recently, police warned a married woman that her life could be in danger after her boyfriend was near fatally attacked with bricks and acid. She's now in hiding.
This Afghan woman is in hospital with serious burns, and they're self-inflicted. She's one of a growing number of women and young girls who deliberately set fire to themselves in order to escape a life of domestic torture and abuse.
I burnt myself because my in-laws were torturing me. They were beating me all the time. I did not have any other choice but to burn myself. I was 10 years old when I got married.
Suicide attempts are common in Western Herat, where many women are forced into marriage at a young age. Many suffer abuse from their husbands and in-laws.
I was 7 years old when I got married. I did not have kids till the age of 12. I became a mother of 4 kids. My husband is a drug user. I asked him to stop using drugs many times, but he wouldn't stop. I warned him that I would have no choice but to kill myself if he didn't quit using drugs. He couldn't do it, and that's why I burnt myself.
This hospital only treats self-burning patients.
We've had 9 cases of self-burning at our hospital. One of them is a man and 8 are women. Unfortunately, 3 of the women died.
Under the Taliban, women weren't allowed to work or get an education. But even now, 8 years after they were overthrown, there's evidence their suffering continues. Women's rights groups say domestic violence and discrimination is common, and women usually have no access to the justice system. Divorce is rarely an option in a country where about 80% of women are illiterate and often have no knowledge of their rights. Islamic law in Afghanistan also favors men. A wife must prove her husband can't provide for her, is absent for long periods, or abuses her to the point where her life is at risk. She also needs witnesses and often is permission to divorce. Even then, she's unlikely to keep her children, and it's that prospect which drives women like these to seek other, more desperate ways to escape.
A typical German school, but here this teacher is preaching hate.
Christians who go to discos, drink alcohol and have a boyfriend, they perform evil deeds. Christians and Jews, says Allah, believe in the Quran before it destroys your faces.
Germany started Islam classes in its schools. Authorities think the religion spreads peace.
You won't find a phrase, a sentence of Quran which tells the pupils you have to persecute the members of other religions. When you find them, hit them.
Yet Muslims admit the classes have far from soothed tensions.
The relations between the officials and the Islamic communities are not so good.
Sharia is a code of conduct in Arab states where punishments can include amputation and stoning. Campaigners warn Muslim youths are trying to spread Sharia across Europe.
They teach them that they are a superior class of people with more rights than the non-believers. And the non-believers can be treated like pigs. And young Muslims say, how can German law be higher than Allah's law? That is not possible, therefore we must install the Sharia everywhere.
Followers like Barino, born to Christian parents, he's converted to Islam. Every Muslim here must swap German laws for Sharia, he says, and chop off hands, stone adulterers and flog homosexuals. Germany's policy of Islamization may not be going to plan. Muslim students are leaving Europe's schools radicalized by their lessons. This move by authorities is well-meaning, but it may instead be producing a generation of extremists who detest the West.